Let me know. We're rolling. Ready? Good evening. It's 7 o'clock here in the northeast of the United States, and this is Kunchab Tarduling, or the Tibet Center, Buddhist Meditation and Study Center in New York City and northern New Jersey. And this is our twice-weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma. Specifically, we're introducing the 14th Dalai Lama, the current Dalai Lama's stages of the path. We'll have a lot to say about that. Any problems with the transmission or anything, let me know, or Darren Smith know right away. Anyone who has passed away you wish us to pray for, when we do Sutra, the Recollection of Three Jewels, place their names in the chat box. What else? All the prayers we say are on the website, the FAQ section. Scroll down to prayers. And that's it. We can go on and on about the lineage, but we don't have time. and I'm too old. I may not last, so that's it. Prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and width of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddha's teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living here, together with their new ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness. May they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination, and at the same time noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayato Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and the Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. Pardon me. Generating bodhicitta or refuge and bodhisattva vow, however you wish to title it. We say these 3 verses 3 times each. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So that's our motivation. We set the motivation at the beginning. Before we launch into the feature presentation for the next few months, a little taste of the Book of Kadam. This is the time of Atisha, the 1000s. And it involves a dialogue with a person named Jengchub U. His uncle, Yeshe U, was the king, and he had asked Atisha to come to Tibet. So the reason why Buddhism was saved and safely in Tibet was this guy, Jangshub. Oh, he was captured by a ruling lord there at the time, and they wanted ransom for his weight in gold. The nephew got it. You heard this story. It's so good. So we don't have to go through it. Then that's not about it. And then his, when it's time to show up the money, he said, no, you don't have, your head still not counted in this weight. We need the weight of your head too in gold. So he told his nephew, forget it. I've died many times for nothing. This is the first time I can die for the Dharma. You take that money, don't give it to the warlord, you give it to Atisha and tell him that I died for this. So, and he was surprised that his nephew said, I thought you were like a flippant young guy, but I didn't realize you were really religious. So this is the character, the nephew, Jangchub O, which means U was their family name or whatever. I say O, the Tibetans say O, big deal. So this is from a book called the Book of Kadam. The Kadampas were the original early Tibetan Buddhists, not that early because the early was 700s. This is the 1000 when the Reformation of Tibetan Buddhism came around. We don't going to go into that because that goes on forever, but how it deteriorated and wrong ideas of Tantra or practice, etc. So I'll pick this up on page 562, not too long, 5-10 minutes, If you want to ask questions, of course, we can go all night, but somebody has to answer them. So when Master Atisha first did Nari, he lived there for 2 years. Nari is a region of Tibet, and today we have Nari Rinpoche, who's very friendly with the Tibet Center, the Dalai Lama's brother, younger brother. So there he gave many essential instructions to those headed by La Jangchup U. La means God, Jangchup U. Once he was intending to return to India, and as he was about to take to the road, Lajang Chapur once again requested personal advice. He never did go back to India. He died in Tibet. When a teacher responded with what he had already given in the past should suffice, La persisted with his plea. The master then gave the following instruction. Yes, when you ask teachings, they'll say, no, I don't know, I can't do that. You be persistent without being a pest. If you're sincere, they're testing your sincerity, they're testing your resolve. Because the teachings they'll give you will require you to really show some hardship, may not, So that's the thing. They always test your resolve. And for instance, when Nikki wanted to be a monk, it took 2 years. So they said, all right, Marianne, who's coming here this September to be in residence for a month, she waited a couple of years. And finally, she got permission in this room. Emaho, we'll start. O friend, you whose knowledge is high and whose mind is utterly clear. This is a teacher talking to the student. Flattery will get you anywhere with me, I was just saying. So, though it is inappropriate for me, one of low intelligence and lacking in accomplishment, to offer any advice, as you, my excellent friend, who is so dear to my heart, have exhorted me, I, a childlike one with small intelligence, offer this suggestion to your heart, my friend. Take the hint. That's the real Lamas talk that way. Oh, I don't know. I'm nothing. You slip into the... So, as one requires a teacher until the attainment of enlightenment, rely on a sublime teacher, O friend. Here's the pieces of advice. Boom, click, click, click. As one requires learning until the ultimate mode of being is realized, listen to your teacher's essential instructions. As the mere knowledge of the teachings does not lead to full enlightenment, put it into practice, for knowing alone is inadequate. You got to be it. Okay? Distance yourself from those objects that afflict your mind and always reside in places that increase virtue. Now, high yogi lives anywhere, but that's them. It's not us. We're like a plant that needs a greenhouse. As distraction causes harm until one has attained stability, seek solitary forests. Forsake friends who give rise to afflictions, and seek those who enhance virtue and respect their wishes. As there is no end to mundane chores, discard them and abide with natural ease. Throughout the day and night, dedicate your virtues and always guard your mind. As you've received essential instructions, whatever you do, be it meditation or other activities, do it so in accordance with your teacher's words. Don't freelance here. It's not going to work. If you pursue this with great respect, you will reap its fruits before long. If you act in accord with the Dharma from your heart, both provisions and support will be attained as byproducts. It'll happen. This is something you do one thing and something else happens. Big thing in Buddhism. Oh friends, sensual desires are insatiable, like drinking salt water. Therefore, cultivate contentment. Despise all thoughts of haughtiness, conceit, and arrogance, and be tranquil and tame. So don't go into politics. You do that, it's not going to work. As distracting pursuits referred to as mere are obstacles to Dharma practice, relinquish them. As offerings in honor are maras, lasso, maras, a demon, a negative force, whatever you want to call it. Measure them carefully like weights of a scale. No, relinquish them. As offerings in honor, so don't get turned away by people bringing you things. It's easily done when you have an ego. As words of praise and fame are tricksters, cast them out like spit or snot. Never mind. Though today happiness, good fortune, and friends may have converged, since this is only momentary, leave them behind. Since the future is longer than the present, hide well your resources in treasure as provisions for the future. As you must depart by leaving everything behind, there is no use for anything, so do not cling to nothing. So do cling to nothing, rather. So do cling to nothing. No double negatives. Cultivate compassion toward the weak and abandon mocking and disparaging them. Have no prejudice or clinging to and recoiling from the classes of friends and enemies. Equanimity. Have no jealousy toward the learned ones, but respect them and receive knowledge from them. Do not scrutinize others' faults, but probe your own and discard them like poisoned blood. Think not of your virtues, but of others, and like a servant, show respect for all. Cultivate recognition of all beings as your parents, and love them as if they were your own children. With a smiling face and a loving heart, always speak what is true without hostility. Since excessive pointless conversations cause confusion, engage in appropriate measures of speech. Since excessive pointless chores disrupt your virtuous deeds, discard non-dharma pursuits. Now this is for people who are really into it now. I mean, the people who go have householders and stuff, you have to measure this. You take this with, a grain of salt, whatever you want to call it. But the advice is good, though. Do not strive too hard in meaningless pursuits, for this is wasteful hardship. No mahjong. That's what you play. Come what may, do not die with attachment. Big point. Since the other shore is born of karma, it is better to rest your mind at ease. Alas, if you become despised by the sublime beings, you are as good as dead, so be honest and non-deceitful. Since the suffering of this life arises from past karma, do not blame others. Something's bothered, why me, blah, blah. You created the script for this and you're playing it out. You wrote the script, you set the set, everything. Hire the actors that come to you in this life. Your fault. Yeah. We all have it. So since all happiness is the teacher's blessing, repay their kindness. Since you cannot tame others' minds when your own mind remains untamed, first discipline your own mind. Since you cannot enhance others if you lack superior cognition, strive well in your meditative practice. Since you are certain to depart, leaving your accumulated wealth behind, commit no negative karma for its sake. What people do these days for money is really strange. Since this wealth of distraction is without essence, give charity adorned with gifts. Since it beautifies this life and leads to happiness in the future, always observe pure ethical discipline. They say the cause of a good physical appearance in your next lives is patient acceptance of ethics. The little tricks they have for getting things. Although they say, since hatred proliferates in the degenerate age, put on the armor of forbearance or patience, free of anger. Since you might be left behind because of laziness, ignite the flame of joyful perseverance like a blazing fire. It's going through the 6 paramitas again. Since it is on the road of distraction that one exhausts one's lifespan, the time has now come for the endeavor of concentration. Yeah, explain to her. It's informal here. We're not, no network TV here. This is us mice.
No, she was asking what are the 6 paramitas.
6 paramitas. You will tell her.
Yeah.
She told you?
This is what I said. I said it's like 6 qualities to cultivate to help you.
Generosity, ethics, patience, joyful perseverance, concentration, and wisdom, and they are in that order for a reason. Generosity makes it easier for you to be ethical. Ethical helps you with patience, and patience helps you with the ability to keep your mind on one thing, concentration. And then joyful perseverance, concentration, and then with that concentration, a joyful mind, you can penetrate the nature of reality. Wisdom. And that's it. So there's a reason for that. They call them paramitas because they go beyond. Para means over there. So. Since it is on the road to one exhausts one's lifespan, the time has now come for the endeavor of concentration. One point in mind. So, due to wrong views, one fails to realize the ultimate mode of being, so inspect well the perfect truth. O friends, there is no joy in this mire of samsara, so depart to liberation's dry shore. Practice well the teacher's instructions and drain the lake of samsara's suffering. Keep this advice well in your hearts and listen to this suggestion, for this is not mere mouthing of words. If you do this, I'll be happy and both you and others will enjoy happiness. Oh, listen well, dear friend, to these words of advice from an ignorant man. Thus the master Atisha, the soul lord, advised Latsung Jangchab Ur. So that's a nice little 11th century piece of wisdom. It's a wonderful book. We'll try and get one upstairs so people come here and spend 20 minutes reading this and then have an espresso. So anyway, we're coming to the culmination of His Holiness's work on the Lam Rim, aided by Dayab Rinpoche, whom we met, who has spoken here. He's a scholar at a university in Germany, multi-talented, multilingual, etc. He's also the ruler of the Dayab section of Tibet, if it were free. So far, it's ruled by our friend Xi Jinping. So I'm picking this up.
Sorry, what's the title again?
The title is The 14th Dalai Lama's Stages of the Path, Volume 1. Available at fine food stores. No, available, Amazon has every.
That's right.
We're going to look into getting it at a reduced price, which we always try to do. Usually you get 40% off if you buy like half a dozen or whatever. So then students here can get one cheaper. Amazon came down. I think it's supposed to be listed as something like that. $49, $54. I think Amazon's selling it for $49 or something like that. A little cheap. So we're starting on what this book starts off with, kind of things that you don't have to be a great scholar to understand. It starts off with secular ethics. And the whole book is riddled with secular ethics. But if you go through the content, it gets more and more focused on the Buddhist point of view. So we shall start on the chapter 1, the foundation of happiness, which is on. They never number the title page. Page 43. Yeah, the path. From here to there. It's all mental.
Do you mind if I run to the library to get the other copy, or is this next copy?
I think Lavinia took the copy last night, and it's supposed to come, but you can.
I just thought I can get it on my phone. Amazon's being weird. It's okay, I can listen.
We'll go slow.
Thank you.
And also a discussion group. Pipe up. So, foundation of happiness. Here, I'll give you. What's a good technique here? Here's this table of contents, so you get an idea of what he's working on. The first is the foundation of happiness, and he goes immediately to compassion, how it affects you and others, etc., and so forth. Love and compassion upon health. He gives you a lot of secular hints that will keep you interested. And then he goes from there. The next is religion, what is and what isn't. And this is very non-sectarian. Most of the stuff here you can. Then science, the universe, and then philosophies of world religions, Pali and Sanskrit traditions, and then the Nalanda tradition. It's the paths of Sutra and Tantra. It's giving you a big overview. And then the essence of Buddhism, he's getting more tied into that. 21st century Buddhists, and that's it. The next volume gets a little more technical, but this is Foundation of Happiness. A lot of little tidbits here and a lot of helpful pieces of advice. Very good psychology. You'll see what I mean. It is the desire of all living beings to be happy and to not suffer. Whether we are rich or poor, educated or uneducated, irrespective of race, religion, and so on, ultimately each one of us simply wishes the best for ourselves. And that's okay. That's what we're supposed to do. No guiltiness. The right to fulfill our short and long-term desires and the right to rely upon various means to accomplish our desired happiness is the same for all of us. In that sense, it goes without saying that the purpose of our life is to attain happiness. Boom. How it's defined, however, is a little different from the commercial presentation of happiness. Okay? As a human being, I seek to promote ethics within the human race. This is the first of 3 commitments I have taken on. It involves recognizing the source, and here comes Buddhism 101, everything is caused. The source. You have a chance to mold your own life, because everything is caused, you create causes, you get results. From which happiness in individuals, households, and communities arises. In our search for ways to bring happiness for ourselves, if we disregard the freedom of others and harm others, in the long term, we definitely bring harm to ourselves. Another thing, we are connected. Every reaction has a reaction. Every action has a reaction, etc., and so forth. So that's easy to see. But how they slip in the Buddhist way of thinking is very clever. So you can see it here.
So I think this is where things, obviously for me,
already get complicated, right? Because we say we all want to be happy,
Right.
which is true, and then we say we shouldn't hurt others, and that should be easy, right? But I
Yeah,
think
because that being happy means not hurting others, because if you hurt others, you have to get the reaction back to you.
exactly.
That's Buddhism.
But-
People don't believe that.
No,
So-
I agree with it, but I struggle with it because obviously, like, when you live your daily life, it gets more complicated. So if I take a very simple example, let's say from raising currently a toddler daughter, for a lot of the times, even though she's very good at sharing, but I'll just use it as a pretend example, as a hypothetical example. From her perspective, if I keep my toys, then I'm happier. If I am forced to share, then I'm less happy.
So that's an age-old
Right.
thing. I remember that as a kid
No,
myself.
I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah, you know,
Real-
that's
real-
funny.
Real examples at work that are more complex, where you think, if
Oh.
I take this thing away from a person, that's actually going to protect me better and make me happier than if I, act compassionately towards this person. Do you understand what I'm getting at?
You have to know when to activate compassion, allow and not allow, and that comes with wisdom over the long period. Right now, we're just shooting in the dark.
Yeah.
We don't know. If our motivation is good, I don't want to hurt them, but I have to do, you have to think that through. But we don't know. We're not omniscient. And we're not even I'm not even approaching it. That is a problem. Workplace, big problem. Because
May I ask another question?
sure, or make a statement, whatever you wish.
So one of the things that make it complicated regarding compassion and regarding karma is that, if I understand well, we are so much influence, and our identity is immersed with our tribes, our nations, our
Oh, yeah.
families,
Yes.
history, our culture, with
Oh, yes.
Western culture, other cultures, and their perception many times brings wrong, ignorance, or elusive concept of what is our identity. What is our identity?
Oh, that's a
Who
big
are
point,
we?
by the way.
Who
Oh,
are
boy.
we, right? And so it's very much, as you say, when we look at interdependence, it's very hard to look at someone when he arises, he tries to become more free and to establish who am I with all those influences. And then the question of the karma is very complicated.
Oh, yes.
I understand
That's
it.
very, very hard.
It's very hard because
Yeah.
basically, of course, I mean, there are simple, right, the simple basic, if I will now act violently, of course it will come back. If I will be more generous.
We're told that.
Right?
Let's see if we
But it's more complicated, because really
Yes.
what makes us suffer is our expectation, our illusions, and our ignorance.
Keep going.
In many ways. So,
Yes.
yeah. So I feel that I didn't put the question, my question.
No, I get the general idea.
Where does the habitus, the wrong perception, the elusive elements in our identity,
You struck oil.
right? And
You
where-
struck oil.
where-
Yeah, well, I don't know, natural gas. Espresso.
yeah.
What our identity is, what this is all about. We have to strip down what makes us the same as others.
Yeah.
And that's a big story. In order to have the tools to do that, we have to train our minds somewhat. Doesn't have to be a religion, it could be your own personal. We have to expand our mind to its full capacity. Our perceptions can get more and more, what's the word, precise. We have a lot of junk in our mind. There are techniques, not even religious techniques, where you start to pare down to what is perception, what am I, what is my being, and am I different from others? They say you will discover a very strong similarity with others. The us and them thing has to go away. You can't force it. It'll happen naturally with certain ways of thinking and meditating that you do. Us and them is dangerous. And it happens.
Yes, and then, sorry.
Us and them.
Ah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's always a boundary like this. Tibetans themselves have it. He's from this region, or he's from that region. Nobody cares about your region. You're not even there anymore. Shut up. But we do that. That's natural. It's a natural thing. We have to break all those habits. We have to decide, who is I?
Right.
Is it really there, or is it a projection of our minds that we think is there? With karma, it's very complicated. Until you're an omniscient being, you cannot exactly say, I gave an apple to this guy 30,000 years ago, and now I'm a king. You can't say how that works. So we take it provisionally. That's what they're saying. They didn't lie about the doctrine of emptiness, which is the most important. They're not going to lie about who gave this and then got that result. Doctrine of emptiness can be proved with normal mind. You don't have to go into a special transfer. Normal logic, concentrating on it, can prove yes, there's an idea. But emptiness is long down the road. With it, here, what they first do is try to stabilize your being so that you're not drawn here and there nervously, etc. And then you realize everyone feels this way. Everyone has anxiety, etc., and expresses it a certain way, and usually comes out as aggression. Anyone's yelling at you, have to think, a Buddhist would say, that person's suffering. Or acting aggressive, this suffering. Get the hell out of the way in the meantime, but don't encourage it, but know that's what's going on, because you yourself, when you have arguments with your spouse or somebody, there's something going on right then, and then, I'm sorry and all this, but that's a mild level. It happens between nations. So that's what they're doing is, first of all, settling the mind somewhat, determining who we are. And you don't have to believe any of this. You should take this with a very strong skepticism, because that's the only way you learn.
No, I definitely actually do believe in it. And for me, it's not just a religious belief, it's also like a psychological experiment.
That's well put, yes.
But I will say that one thing that I'm still struggling with, or that has taken me a long time to learn and practice, and I'm still trying to understand from a psychological perspective, is understanding that happiness is not necessarily giving the other person what they want.
No, of course not, because what you give them may harm them.
Exactly.
Right.
No, that's for true.
Yeah. But I mean, I can only talk about myself. I'm a person that very much wants to, if somebody is crying, I'll just give you some, whatever.
Yeah, you have to be very
always
careful. And the thing in New York City, those comes, what if I give a junkie $10? He's only going to get, that's something that you have to handle personally.
Yeah.
That's all. But there's no rules on that. But you should have a good intention. That's all. Not something they give them money goods and then they'll kill themselves. Let them shoot up and kill them. In those days when we started, drugs were a big deal in conversation. Or giving wine over $10 bills or $5 or whatever. To only get more drunk. So that you're on your own. So this religion puts you on your own.
Yeah.
It's not follow the rules and do what I say. Try this and see what happens, is what their point of view. See, what's this now? And then they'll hit you with some basic things. You're going to die. What are you going to do about it? All the things you have are going to go away. That's an evident truth, but you don't want to think about it. The things that are evident and we push, under the rug, they have to come out. Otherwise, from under the rug, they're going to send up signals of anxiety and, confusion, etc. This is big on confronting reality, because in the long run, it's more pleasant. You'll find your mind has ways of getting after you. So anyway, I promote ethics, etc. The source of which happiness, it involves recognize the source from which happiness in individuals, households, and communities arises. In our search for ways to bring happiness for ourselves, if we disregard the freedoms of others and harm others, in the long term, we definitely bring harm to ourselves. Big thing in Buddhism, we're in a action-reaction mode forever until we become full Buddhists. When we put effort into ways to find happiness and eliminate suffering, it's very important to consider carefully what kinds of results they will bring both to ourselves and others. So this is a redoing of our idea of the world, of reality. There are immediate results and long-term results, and it is important to understand the difference between the two. When a result brings benefit in the short term but is harmful in the long term, it is better not to value that immediate gain, but instead one should consider the long-term effect as being more important and of greater significance. And one Lama says, why are future lives important? They're longer. So And to refrain from undertaking those deeds that are the foundation of future harm. You're on your own about figuring. There's no table. Oh, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't smoke that. You shouldn't eat this. Go above that, and start to rely on. Well, what if this happens and that, and then as best as you can. We're beginners. When deciding whether an activity is worthwhile and trying to correctly distinguish its good and bad points, we must first know. Whoops. What must we know? We must know nothing. If it harms or benefit others. So he's coming up to a definition of compassion now. So what is compassion? Buddhist style. So from the starting point, the heartfelt desire to be happy and not to suffer, we should recognize that turning away from harmful activities and their causes and engaging only in those physical, verbal, and mental acts that benefit others is the best practices for gaining happiness and alleviating sufferings. For the happiness and rights or dignity of individuals and communities, we definitely need this virtuous way of looking at the world as a whole, and we must bring to an end the thoughtless behavior that ignores the welfare of others. So this is, a Mahayana Buddhist. Now, it's not just my own path, but I'm in this medium, whether you like it or not. You are. That's it. By only working for our own happiness, and we engage in acts that are in complete dissonance with the fundamental human condition, and by perpetuating the causes of the ongoing oppression and suffering of humans and animals, in the end, we and others will surely suffer. For that reason, we should work to maintain a mind of compassion. And now, the importance of compassion and the definition. The central meaning of compassion is an attitude that wishes to end the sufferings of others and to augment their happiness. In that sense, it carries a feeling of affection for others and a sense of responsibility. So within that attitude that wishes to end the suffering of others, that sense, it has a feeling of affection for others and a sense of responsibility. I will do it. That's compassion. Yes. No. This is important.
I hope so.
You could go anytime you want. It's only me. There's no high limit. All of us.
Yeah, I do feel that looking at observing reality, many times the real suffer people, when we try to be compassionate,
Oh yeah.
is with elusive ideas. I want more money. I want more stuff. I want more degrees. I want more. My
Cadillac.
child have to be, I don't know what.
Yeah.
It's the best university, right?
Right. Smarter than Musk.
Right. And so all the competitive state of mind, the measures, the beauty, the concept of beauty, the concept of our body, the concept of almost everything in our Western culture, in capitalism culture. So when I look at my friends, myself, etc., most of our suffer was due to wrong perspective, perceptive.
It's about perspective. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the aggression came, right? Because let's say, I remember it was, I could tell you there was more.
Sure, please.
I was a filmmaker, and I was lucky to be with my film in Japan, in a film festival in Japan.
Hi.
And there were different, nationalities. I was an individual. I came as just a filmmaker with my movie. But there were, this film festival is very known all over the world, and they have international competition, but also a competition for Asian cinema. So you had the people from
International and Asian.
right, from India and from different places all over Asia. And I remember the Indian filmmakers that they were saying, and we had a lot of meetings, and we were gathering and hanging, and then eventually there was a competition, and then some people got prizes and some didn't.
Yes.
And then after we met and hang together and drank and everything, and the guy, many guys from India said, well, now we are not so happy.
Yeah, well,
After we lost or we felt, so there was some kind of feeling that we were in this remote place in Japan, and we hang together and we exchanged many experiences, and we had the cinema and the magic of the cinema. But then it was a competition, and
and
someone
that
got prize,
turned everything off.
and
Some won and some
someone
didn't.
didn't,
I hear
and
you.
it ended it,
Good-
and
good sit-
everyone were more or less miserable in that sense of that.
Who didn't win?
Right, right. So I feel that in our reality, most of the suffer is because of wrong perception.
Wrong expectations, unrealistic expectations. That's going to be carried here.
Right. So here,
Yes, go
where
ahead.
is compassion?
So,
It's a
so
very,
actually,
very
I want to.
question. I want to say, I won 2 prizes. By the way, this says.
But I should have won 3.
No, so I didn't feel so well because I felt, I felt for someone else, but in our society, oh, now you are bragging. I mean, you got 2 prizes and you are going to. So this is very banal because we have so many competition. But actually, what I feel really, what is really practicing for me emptiness, is to understand that it's nothing. I mean, all this
Relatively
competition,
nothing in one way. In the long term.
Mountains are nothing. I'm not living by those products.
Well, that's good for you. Yes. How you hand out internally indicates your maturity, your spiritual maturity. How if your head is turned by that.
So I just want to say that I remember this really struck me because there is a part about what you're saying that is about our culture, right? We live in a very competitive culture.
Oh, yeah.
Da, 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 da. But I remember, I think this is actually in the 3 Principal Paths, but Tsongkhapa, or maybe I'm mixing my sources, a story about a monk, right, who's going to meditate in the woods, so he has nobody, no company, right? No competition.
And he's still miserable.
No, nothing.
No,
And
nothing.
he's sitting in the cave and he's meditating, and in his mind, this is like, again, I think it's Tsongkhapa who's describing it, and in his mind he's thinking, oh, I really hope they put a sign outside the cave
Yes.
that says, here
He's
sits
a great
the
meditator. I've heard stories like,
exactly,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
So it's also our mind.
Spiritual
It's not
materialism, that's called.
just- yes.
That's
Not just our, like, of
Yeah.
course we are in a very extreme East Coast rat race.
Yeah.
Da, da, da,
Well,
da.
probably in
But-
India there's competition. It's not so much culture anymore. It's the culture of the world.
I guess what I try to say, of course, we are in a moment that really does encourage competition.
Of
But
course.
I also think it's our mind. Like
Well, the
historically-
mind, yeah, everything is the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Awesome.
No, go ahead. I have nothing to say.
Oh,
The book's
um,
saying
well,
everything.
there's another paradigm that I look at that with sometimes. Aside from cultures, there's something called evolutionary psychology, and to look at the wanting to win, and saying, well, this culture, winning is important in this culture, but in some ways, it's out of context. It was really important for the many tens, hundreds of thousands of years. And now culture has changed pretty rapidly over the last 500, 1,000 years, whatever. And it becomes much less, things become much less important, but our emotional reactions to things have remained stuck in the evolutionary past.
So you mean like it was important because if you didn't win, you wouldn't eat?
You wouldn't
Right.
eat, and you might not
Worse,
even
you wouldn't
get
have
to
prestige.
reproduce because people like winners. And I mean, there are a million different evolutionary things that you can ascribe to that you can say being a winner was beneficial back then. And you can look at that for most of our emotional reactions. I've just been really fascinated by that idea lately.
That's an old idea because the story of the Zen guy was playing a game of Go or whatever is with the other one. Then all of a sudden, he's doing well, and he's beating the student, and then he goes, "Psh, there are no winners and no losers." He throws up in there. So that pattern in your mind
Right.
is a contrived pattern. It's not reality exactly. It's, what's the word? Conceptual, and you're putting all kinds of weight on that. what's the big deal? You know, they're not even playing for money. I can see there's money and you lose your house, maybe, but it's just,
No.
I'm the best, you know. There's stories like that throughout Buddhism, different cultures. If you read even the Pali tradition, it's a big theme. In other words, that's a big theme in the way our minds work. Our defiled minds or our non-evolved minds. Sometimes Buddha is called the fully evolved one. And by the way, we're all going to reach Buddhahood because those that were teachers have nothing to do except encourage us to bring us to their state. So, sooner or later, it's up to you. But that's our nature, our Buddha nature. And everyone has it, even the insects have it. If you have consciousness, it's not inherently existence. It can be affected by proper change. It's not static. This is emptiness, by the way. The fact that nothing, it can be affected. So then it's inevitable that we will become Buddhas. We have the tools for it. They usually give the metaphor of someone who's starving and really, but underneath their house is a diamond worth billions. And who comes along, an advanced being, and he'll, you know, a Buddha, someone points, you know, what's under your house? You know, did you go? I do a little digging. Yeah, it's all dirty. Clean it up. And that's where we all are. We have this innate Buddha nature, omniscient, immortal. We can go on. So, to get there is the problem. You know, so it's not an idea of you go out and get something. It's an idea of uncovering, undefiling your patterns of thought that are inconsistent with the way things are, or the way things be, or they is, or whatever you want. So that's it. So that's the strategy revolves around that purification. You know. And you do have to learn certain things, but mainly we have the basic element. And it shows itself in extreme situations. When we're dying, you get a glimpse of the purity of the mind, the clear light, but we're not trained, and zips by it like a split second. We don't see it. But yogis who can slow their mind down go through the death process and can become enlightened. And at death, and the bardo, and rebirth, those three stops. But we're not attuned to that. No, but it's there and possible. And others have been there. And the stories over the years, 2,000 years, would have all collaborate. What happens. And some people induce death. They don't die because their lifespan they got it from karma for this life. But they induce the subtler and subtler minds that come up at the point. That's what Tantra does. It studies the same topic, but with a more subtle mind, which makes use of your body energy, but you have to be on your toes for that. You have to be, sort of adept. Maybe we'll use that word. But it's possible. So we shouldn't despair. And everybody has that. So nobody's better than others in the long run. Everyone. Mice, kings, except Trump. He doesn't know. No, I'm saying, no, he does. Yeah, everybody does. You don't know who he is. That's the other way. We don't know who's masquerading as what. Because they say Buddhas and Bodhisattvas act as normal people. Zhongli says, hey, Buddha was here. He would wear a business suit, maybe. Yeah, maybe business suit. Or maybe he's bum. They act. They can assume various forms. And they know how you recognize things. So they appear to your perception that it's faulty, and they show a certain thing. They frighten you. They cheer you up. They do whatever is necessary. All this on that basis of having Buddha nature, and you having it too. So they claim. Now, all this is above my head. I cannot claim knowing this directly or anything, but I could read out of the book. So so far I can still read. I don't know. But it's the way. So again, compassion, attitude that wishes to end the suffering of others and to augment their happiness. In that sense, it carries a feeling of affection for others and a sense of responsibility. And when they put the fMRI on the brain of meditators, and they tell them to meditate now on compassion, what lights up? The action part of the brain, not the part that lays there. That I want to do something. So that indicates the definition of compassion, a sense of responsibility. That's very mature. I think they use Matthew Ricard. Have you heard about him? He's the happiest man on earth, they say. I don't know. He's a French scientist who became a monk. Very good practitioner. So that's somewhat empirical scientific proof of what goes on in the mind. So you would think, oh, it's a blissful feeling, and they lay back. No, I got to do something. Interesting. Everyone embodies virtues connected with compassion, such as kindness, respect, tolerance, contentment, patience, and generosity. And those endowed with such qualities are held in high regard. On the contrary, anger, intolerance, malice, greed, miserliness, and so on are regarded as false. And those who carry such mental traits are universally disliked. Nobody is attracted to them. There is good reason why everybody likes someone who turns their minds towards compassion, who tries to develop these excellent qualities, and who works to rid themselves of the faults of a malicious mind. You like being around them. They don't give you any hard time. So, unfortunately, in many communal relationships and in the lives of individuals, the power of kindness and compassion is becoming weaker. He's claiming that's the situation of the world. I know. Sometimes when the need for helping others and the necessity of love and compassion is spoken about, it is regarded as foolish and irrelevant, or as the speech of religion. Because there's a big anti-religious movement. And, there's a reason for that. They abuse their power. And we can go down the line. Any religion has a problem with that. This is very sad. Yeah, no kidding. Many people mistakenly think that compassion is a practice solely belonging to religion. It is true that compassion is the essential element of the ethical conduct practiced in all the main religious traditions. But compassion itself is not of religious value. This is what he's banging at, and he's right. And he goes through this theme all through the book, as he did in the other one, Secular Ethics, Beyond Religion. Therefore, when it is said that good attitudes such as compassion, tolerance, and so on are important, it is wrong to consider them as religious principles, because no one, whether religious or not, can afford to disregard compassion, affection, and so on. Why? Because kindness and compassion are the main qualities necessary in life. A good mind enriched by love and compassion is essential for human beings. Essential, not a side thing. Such statements can be understood from experience to be true. Let me see what time we have. Okay, we have time. The main destroyers of compassion are anger and hatred. We could think I'd sit on that. Yes, more or less.
Can you say that one more time?
The main destroyers of compassion are anger and hatred. We're not talking about high Buddhas who act angry and stuff like that for purposes. We're not talking about that now. But these are powerful feelings, and at times they come and take over our minds. Well, we could refer to our own minds and prove this point. That's all. However, we do have the ability to move them away. It is never the case that we have no power right now to begin such a practice, or that we can make no progress. If we have a firm basis in our minds, external pressures and inner emotions such as jealousy and anger cannot have much negative influence upon us. We are in control. We cannot let these habits and the faulty parts of our mind run the show, because nothing good comes of it, and you suffer. It's a technique that you have to do.
One of my friends who was also a teacher used to say, apropos the evolutionary mind, she used to say, don't let the 8 years old drive the bus.
Oh, that's
Right?
true.
Don't let the kid make your
Yes, absolutely.
the trauma or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Your,
Oh, yeah.
your reactions.
But then I challenge it, because again, speaking about emptiness, how you transform the concept of emptiness into your reality. The problem is that in many, many systems today, it's very narcissistic. Speaking about evolution, today society, it's very narcissistic. It's very, it's about branding.
Oh, yes.
Competition, right? The
Keep going.
competition, polarizing, all the discourse, all the ways that if you want all your likes in the social media, you need to polarize. You need hate. You need extreme. So it's like our culture in a state that is extremely unbalanced, and this is the only way. It looks like it's the only way in order you to survive. You should go this path. Be narcissist. Think just on yourself. Be edgy.
You could.
Be polarized.
You could do that.
Be part of this polarizing discourse.
And
Be
see,
righteous.
Yeah.
You're right, and so on. And so this kind of thing, because it's so much adored. This is our world, our reality.
it
right?
needn't be.
Right, so in order to say, let's be responsible, let's speak with harmony, with balance our.
Yes, we have to do that
Right.
with the
It's
idea of
very hard today.
the way things really are, which is emptiness, the way things
Right,
are.
right.
So,
It's so hard.
Well-
It's so hard to, because this is the way most of our leaders.
yes, and we mistake kinetic force for intelligence,
Yeah.
things like
Right,
that.
right.
It's not true. So he said we should think hard whether anger and so on is something of value we should hold on to. Is it? So you in your own mind, the only place this takes place is your mind. Nobody's in there with you. Even the intelligence services can't get in. So, good or bad, faults of anger, the benefits of patience, stuff like that. You settle that yourself. Never mind somebody in a high position saying, "No, you should do this." None of that. This is a mature way of doing things, and nobody's watching. the arena of your mind is very private, and that you could tell the truth in. Then you, yes, people do admire the dynamic person, etc., and all this, but they fizzle, they fall apart. It's not based on reality. It's not going to work. There are people who are very forceful and they have a good background and they know what they're doing, and they have a panoramic view of reality, not just this and that. Yes, they could act the way they want and they'll get results. This is something we work on ourselves, on our own. And if somebody says you do this, well, wait a minute, what's wrong with anger? Sometimes I feel strong when I'm angry. And they'll say, well, no, anger is a sign of weakness, not strength. You don't have the fullness of reality, so you're sort of frustrated and you just push more. And the world runs on that, by the way, in case you're worrying. You want to be a CEO? You got to be that kind of person. Look at these people. Mm-hmm. But they die. What happens to all their money? It doesn't go with them. They haven't figured that out yet. FedEx and the Tibetans, however, do. If they know someone's going to be incarnated, they keep their stuff, and then so upstairs we have some. So they send it ahead. I don't know, making a joke, but it's so all these things you have on your own. You set your own perspectives. What's valuable, what's not, and over time it may change. What makes me feel good or not may not be the right thing sometimes, but you go with it for a while. No, I see what a mistake. But that's evolution, mental evolution, to evolve to Buddhahood, we hope. All right, Darren, any names? We'll end here. We'll continue Wednesdays the next time we meet.
So we are now.
Aradhana?
Aradhana's friend Indra,
Indra. Oh, like the goddess Indra, yes. And who else?
and that's it.
That's it. No, the goddess Indra has passed away. That's her name. Aradhana is Indian extraction, but never been to India. She's from Fiji Islands. The recollection of the three jewels. And for anybody else who, all the war zones that people died in the Middle East, in Darfur, in the South Bronx, we go on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, nobody's escaping. The world stinks. The world, we could use a stronger word, but we won't. I prostrate to the omniscient one. Thus, the Buddha Bhagavat, Tathagata Arahat Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those along with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strengths cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavat, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great jnana, they enter completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion. Virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore, the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. Final component.
Who wrote this text?
It's a sutra. So those were, after Buddha died, they all had great powers of memory, so they would get together, and that's why it says, "Thus have I heard." I didn't make this up, I heard from somebody. So I like to see that some of the ads. This is what I heard. That's probably, but yeah, sutra, the last part is added by the Tibetans, and they say that before they eat. They use that as a form, this sutra is a form of grace, or whatever. So prayer for a swift return by His Holiness Dalai Lama, for the quick return of our teacher, Rato Chungla Rinpoche. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Luzang Tubuang Dorje Chang. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of spiritual prayers, aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Lozang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening, yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till cyclic existence's end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Losang Tempe. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish. the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. And don't forget, real religion takes place in the mind. That's it. It's where it lives, and that's where it's born. So, our next class will be Wednesday nights. We're back on the old schedule from the last eon, Monday and Wednesday, because it's kind of hard to go 2 days in a row for everybody. So, that's it. So, 7 o'clock here at the parsonage in glorious South Orange, New Jersey. We'll see you at 7 o'clock, or you'll see you online. I know, not if you see me first, but that's okay. Darren, you can cut.